Okay. Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the War Crime Imperium's Wednesday sesh political E4 type overview thingy. Apologies to our good friends Seljukes. Missed them on last week's review, so we'll give them a little bit more of an in-depth review and then just do some high-level stuff for the rest of the folks here. So Seljukes, let's take a look. Currently max manpower 115, quite high. Right up there on the top tier with everyone else. Number one great power, up to date on institutions, over 1,000 dev. Nice little vassal swarm going down here into the Gulf of Aden. Sicily's got a decent chunk of Egypt, which is not ideal for the Seljuks. As you can see, over 7 ducats from Alexandria going into Venice, almost nothing going into Constantinople. They do have control over Aleppo, which is nice, so the majority of that trade is going into Constantinople. They also have, a few of the Crimea ones, so they're able to pull that way. How many merchants do we have? Just 2? Yeah. And then let's take a look at ideas here. Offensive and quality, so discipline stacking, and then innovative. That gives them infantry combat ability and some land fire damage. Pretty good policies there. 42 innovativeness, so all power costs -4, which is very nice. So yeah, Seljuk's doing quite well. Diplomatically, currently aligned with Persia. Magyar's is a little bit of a wild card. Obviously, player rage quit because he wasn't able to use a broken idea combo, but looks like we have a sub replacing him. So that's going to be an interesting relationship to keep an eye on. Obviously, Magyar is quite a bit poorer than the Seljuks. Trade nodes here, not nearly as strong. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. And then, yeah, figuring out something with Sicily. That's going to be an interesting one as well. Okay, so from Seljuks, we'll jump over to some of the new tags that formed, starting with Albion. Tremendous income right up there. Probably, yeah, Sicily's a little bit higher, but otherwise, Albion's probably number 2. Manpower 104, quality and offensive, and explo. What policies does this give us? Manpower recovery, heavy ship, and privateer. So not the greatest policies, but doesn't really matter a ton. They already have heavy ship from the British traditions, morale of navies. Oh, these are some good ideas. Goods produced plus 20%. Holy shit. And then tech costs, global settler. So navally, Britain's untouchable. They're currently allied with Francia and Prussia, which is interesting. They have a very large colony, which is probably giving them a decent amount of manpower already. Only 5,000, but obviously the eastern colonial region is huge, and you can gain a ton of manpower through crown colonies, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see moving forward just how high Albion can stack their manpower, because they're essentially alone from a colonial perspective. Yeah, they're already breaking into the Caribbean. Only Norway's got some, but as we'll see from an idea perspective, going quite slowly. And then let's pivot over to Andalusia. They expanded better this last session. I still think they're going a little slowly in this region. They're behind on ideas. Oh, they've started going into Explo. Interesting. Okay. trying to capture the Ivory Coast, but they'll be competing with England there. Um, Good amount of manpower, good eco. They need to wrap this up quickly and then figure out what they're going to do with regards to Francia. Because obviously Francia um, has a tremendous amount of AI expansion they can continue to do, whereas most other players are starting to bump up on um, players on every border. Francia, good amount of manpower, a decent amount of debt, but um, it's all burger loans at this point. Looks like, at least estate. Some bank loans in there. How much debt do they have currently? Jesus, what reinforcements are tanking that. They're paying a lot for advisors. A little bit behind on tech. Way behind on ideas. So yeah, Frankie has still got some consolidation to do. I would have oh wow, they're all... Oh, they're just allied in this war. Okay, but that's a vassal. Yeah, let's take a look at this. Yeah, they're still allied with everyone and their mother. They're trying a triple annex. Okay, Brittany's almost done. They're doing Normandy as well, and Mulhouse. And then they've got Mark as a vassal. Yeah, okay. Not sure what to do about that, but you're way behind on Diplo. That's got to be affecting their deving also, right? Oh, no, they've started to get some decent dev here. Yeah. Okay. And then looks like they're doing a trade deal with our good friends in Albion. But not getting a ton of money out of it at this point. Where are they collecting? Collecting in 3 different nodes. I don't know. I'd have to test to make sure that's the most efficient. If you're going to do a trade deal, it probably makes sense to push Bordeaux into Champagne, move your trade capital into Genoa, and then push Champagne into the English Channel and get your maximum amount back from Albion. But I'd have to test that. Sicily's a bit of a wild card right now. Obviously, France has got large armies there sieging them down. The AI declared some sort of war, a jihad against Pisa. So we'll see what comes of that when we get an actual player back. But Sicily's still in good shape. Yeah, up to date on tech, up to date on ideas. No challenges there. Prussia formed this past session, then went AI, behind on ideas for sure. A little bit behind on tech, but probably cleaned up via save edits. Eco not super strong, but doesn't have to be. Obviously, it's Prussia, so morale of armies, infantry combat ability. Yeah, just really strong ideas here. So will be interesting to see what policies are we going for. Jurisprudence, that's production efficiency 20% is nice, but the quality policy is not that great. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Norway, max manpower in the 50s. A little bit behind on tech and ideas. There was a couple wars with Galvol. Obviously, France intervened in the first one, but in the second one, Norway brought Russia to bear, and Galvol is, for all intents and purposes, at this point, dead. I think they've chained a number of bankruptcies coming through the last session, and lost a significant portion of land. Russia obviously formed. They fought what ended up being a relatively costly war with the Golden Horde, which allowed Persia to come in and grab the two most important provinces in Astrakhan. This essentially allows Persia to lock in a lot of their trade in the Persian trade node. It's going to be a little bit difficult for Russia to pull through now that they can't have either of the province modifiers. And then it's also now very difficult for Russia to get any trade out of uh, Samarkand or anything outside of Siberia, really. Um, from a geopolitical perspective, Russia is doing pretty well. They formed obviously tremendous manpower limit. Um, their eco is coming along quite nicely, making a lot from trade. So overall doing very well. Expect Golden Horde and Uzbek and Perm to disappear early in the next session. We'll rotate into Asia. I know I missed a few others in the Europe area. We'll circle back to them. Karkatai, I believe, was AI last session. Um, so relatively quiet. Great income. Good manpower cap. Yeah, strong nation. Politically have aligned themselves with Persia. Um, so I'd expect them to move into China um, and maybe contest Russia as well. I think it makes sense for them to have this relationship with Persia. Um, yeah, we'll see what's next for them. Temigoods are finally dead. We saw last week that they were sitting on a tremendous amount of corruption, now over 93 corruption, stability, just chaining bankruptcies, um, essentially dead. Um, I believe Japan took advantage of that for the most part. They've got a vassal here taking most of Korea, and then another vassal here just north of it. Expect Japan to consolidate quickly. There's tremendous value in the Beijing trade node and Hangzhou and whatnot. Trade is a little funky, but the land itself, it's just farmlands everywhere. And trade goods are pretty solid. A bit of iron in farmlands, which is pretty rare. A bit of cloth scattered throughout. Um, Chinaware and some silk as well. So expect Japan to come on quite strong now that both Han and Timigoods are dead. I think this is the ideal situation for our friends in Japan. Manpower a little bit low from that war. They're way behind on ideas, way behind on tech, but beating Timigoods moving forward is going to be quite easy. I'd expect them to move quickly to consolidate and become quite a strong player. Yeah. Get advisors in place, move fast into China, and catch up on tech and ideas, and they'll come along quite strongly. We now have an Ayutthaya player. Looks like they've got a vassal here. Yeah. Growing decently. Decent manpower cap. Good. Oh, very strong eco. A little bit behind on. Oh, way behind on tech and ideas, but that can be made up for. Get better advisors. Really lean into your eco here. And then, yeah, it looks like they've got a good number of claims. Not familiar with the mission tree, but. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. So yeah, roll through your mission tree as fast as possible, and should come along quite nicely. Vijayanagar, relatively low manpower cap considering how large they are. Oh, only 800 dev, yeah. Manpower is pretty low. India's not great for manpower, obviously, but we'll see. Jurisprudence ideas. Why do people like these ideas? Governing capacity. 15. War creation cost, I guess, is nice. Province war score, I guess. All states equilibrium for loyalty is nice. Oh, administrative efficiency 5 is pretty strong. But yeah, I just don't really love the policies. Unless I'm missing something. Yeah, no, nothing too impressive. I don't know. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there, but we'll see. Um, so yeah, it looks like Ayatai and VJ in Japan are forming like an Asian bloc, which is expected. Um, Albion colonizing relatively slowly, focusing mainly on the New World, but could move quickly into Southeast Asia. Their navy is so strong. Um, Japan really has to get onto mainland China quickly so that Albion just doesn't rule the waves. Um, but we'll see. Um, so it looks like we've got our Middle Eastern bloc and our Asian bloc, if you will. Obviously, the Middle Eastern bloc can oppose Russia. Russia's currently allied with Norway. Um, the Asian bloc may run into the Middle Eastern bloc. That would be an interesting little war. Um, not little, but I think that could be a fun war actually for the players involved. Persia, decent manpower cap. Yeah, quality rather than quantity. Wow, these ideas. Love these ideas. Jesus. Advisor cost, tech cost, discipline, goods produced, infantry combat ability. Leaning into the infantry combat ability here. One strategic, so great artillery. Yeah, Persia's doing quite well. Up to date on tech, I'd say pretty close to up to date on ideas, maybe a little bit behind. Eco wise, very strong. Very, very strong. Holy cow. 50. Yeah. So expect Persia to consolidate Hormuz. Ooh, okay. So I think there was some contention here about the Gulf of Aden, because obviously Gulf of Aden can be fed back through Basra into Persia. Might make more sense for them to expand into India. Obviously, India, one of the richest regions, tremendous trade goods, a lot of silk, a lot of cloth, a lot of cotton. So tremendous value here. So if Persia can take Gujarat and then feed that into the Persia trade node, that's probably more valuable. Um, they're currently at war with, yeah, with Sandan, Gujarat. So yeah, um, BJ's already consolidated the majority of the centers of trade. But yeah, that'll be a interesting possible flashpoint, if you will. So that was Persia, and then we'll wrap up here with the Magyars. New player coming in. A lot of manpower, decent-ish eco. Not really. Really strong um, cavalry, though. So um, their diplomatic situation is going to be interesting. The previous player had a bone to pick with Prussia due to the way Prussia treated um, their ally. Uh, Looks like they were able to come to terms and give Magyars the majority of Poland, which unlocks a mission which gives them 15% manpower recovery, which is nice. Helps counter the tribes' mollusts that they have. Where's that mollusk coming from? Oh, that's just because of low loyalty. Oh, so yeah, their manpower recovery is going to be great. Um, they're in an interesting situation. They're guaranteeing the independence of a number of these folks, I think, to prevent um, Francia from eating them. Not sure what the long-term plan there is. Um, Byzantium's their tributary. That's probably some AI funkiness. Um, but yeah, a new player coming into here. Obviously, you have Sicily, you have Seljuks, you have Russia, you have Norway, you have Prussia, and then Francia doesn't really touch it, but going to be some interesting diplomacy with a new player there. Should be interesting to watch. I think next session, what I'm most interested in is Francia, Andalusia, Sicily, what happens between those three. Francia obviously has the Albion alliance now, which makes them quite strong. So between the two, you're looking at a very strong military, but nothing to sneeze at with Andalusia, and Sicily. They're right up there. And then what does Prussia do? I believe Prussia is now outside of the empire. Yes. So they're outside. They may look to expand into it. Obviously, Saxony and Rhineland. It's incredibly valuable real estate. Um, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Uh, Other interesting areas, Russia moving through Golden Horde and Uzbek puts them in direct confrontation with Persia and QK. Yeah, so I think this Indian border is going to be interesting to watch. Um, the hordes disappearing and Russia expanding in this direction is going to be an interesting one to watch. And then what happens with Francia, Magyars, Prussia, Sicily, Andalusia. That's going to be the other one. Yeah, that's about all. Thanks.